What's up? Alright, today we're going to be talking about which Scarlet and Violet sets are the best to invest in 2026. We're going to look at a bit of the top list, at the top hits out of each set. Let's start with Scarlet and Violet base, one of the sets that has been, it's been up and down, sometimes the Drowsy was very high, Gardevoir was very high, but the set doesn't really have much depth. With like great cards that people really want to collect, so therefore I would just straight away put Scarlet and Violet into the trash era. In a section, keep in mind that if you find any of these products or sets at a very cheap price, it's a no-brainer, right? It doesn't really matter what sets they are or what's inside of them. If you can make a margin on it, of course, go ahead and do that, right? But this is purely of if you were to invest right now, let's just talk about market price. This is the set this is a tier list that you want to be looking at, in my opinion, which are great sets and which ones aren't that much. The next is Paldea Evolved. I want to make this video kind of like short for you guys, so you don't need to watch that long. For the people that just want to skip right to the end, go ahead and then you can see the whole list as well. I'll probably put it on the thumbnail as well. Next in line is of course Paldea Evolved. In my opinion, a bit of an underrated set. It's just a set that it has a lot of hits, it's a full set, meaning there are a lot of hits that people like, there are a lot of illustration rares, which makes it hard to pull a specific illustration rare. It's being carried mainly with the Magic card, which of course you have the Tyranitar, Mousehold, Raichu, etc., which are also great hits to pull. I think Paldea Evolved, there's still, I wouldn't put it on the highest list out of the whole Scarlet and Violet in the God section, but I think it's a very good set nonetheless. I think it still has great potential in the upcoming years, especially in 2026. I think I see the set doing a lot of, improvements still in terms of price. Next is Obsidian Flames. It's a very Charizard based set. We of course have the Charizard with the crown on it, and then you have the golden Charizard, but basically it's a very Charizard based set. Besides that, it's a very hard set to also grade in PSA 10s, therefore the PSA 10 price of these cards are very desired and are very expensive. I don't think I kind of want to put it in trash, but it's also like an okay set, but for now I'll put it in trash. Maybe we'll change up some of these sets later. But yeah, besides that, it's a very Charizard based set. It's a great set, but I wouldn't put your money into it. The booster box prices are already quite expensive. Next in line we have 151. I think we've made already so many videos talking about 151. Maybe I'll make one again upcoming an upcoming time. I think 151 is one of the best sets ever. The set has been printed into oblivion. There is so much product in Europe that has been releasing over the past few years, and the prices are still holding up. The prices are still going up. I understand that you see, for example, the prices have gone a little bit down, but if you reflect it compared to like a year ago, these prices are definitely up. I think there are also still a lot of cards that you can buy in for very good prices. So nonetheless, in my opinion, 151 is God. It's probably the best set out of Scarlet and Violet, combined with another one that we'll talk about later. But 151 is definitely one of those sets that you need to invest into. The products is already quite expensive if you compare them to the singles, so maybe singles is a play. I used to be very keen on singles, but right now I just don't have the time and the expertise to look at every single single, see what the market is doing. But I think 151, the cards are still very underrated. The fact that Alakazam is still under 50 euros is crazy, in my opinion. I think it's a very great card. Don't forget the fact that there is still a lot of product. I think a lot of people are also holding this product, which means if price were to go up, it wouldn't surprise me that people are selling that product again. So, it has these jumps to still make, but once it makes that and it's like there's no more product coming on the market and people realize, hey, there's not much being printed anymore, or they're running out of the print run, which is going to happen in 2026, I think then people are going to be scared and they're going to worry about, hey, I'm not holding anything of 151, and that's when 151 is going to make a big explosion in terms of sealed product and in terms of singles. I know it already has made a big jump, but I think it's going to keep on climbing. So if you don't have any 151, I only can recommend to only get more. Paradox Rift, it's a great set. It has the Groudon and Altaria, which are two great cards, very desirable cards as well, especially some PSA 10s. Besides that, it's a great set. It has some fun arts like the Magby, the Mantike, the Steelix, It has some cards in there which are very, desired by a lot of collectors to have these in their collection. But besides that, it's a very, in my opinion, a weak set. I think I'll put it in okay. I wouldn't say it's trash compared to Scarlet and Violet, because it does have those chase cards, kind of like the Groudon and the Altaria. And besides that, it does have a bit of a more compact set in terms of what type of cards are in it, which cards also still have potential, and also in terms of the sealed product. I think it's it's pretty expensive right now, or expensive in terms of that it has made a great jump since the beginning of 2025, but there's still potential to be made, and therefore I would put it in the okay section. Right next is Paldean Fates. Paldean Fates is a big set that people have been talking about a lot in 2025, mainly due to the Mew, the Bubble Mew. You know, you also have the Charizard and the Gardevoir, which are very great cards to, you know, also pull and have very desirable, but I think the Mew is the one that people only talk about when it comes to Paldean Fates. You know, the Bubble Mew has made such a big jump in 2025, where it was first a card which was maybe like 200, 300, and then it jumped all the way up to 600, 700. So I think Paldean Fates, you know, you do have those collection boxes out of the USA, exclusive USA products, which are still now being put onto the market. I think those are great products to still pick up. I think Paldean Fates, you know, is one of those sets which is always going to do great. You know, it's a specialty set. It doesn't have those booster boxes, so people are directly looking at other products. You know, the booster bundles, the ETBs, etc. I think Paldean Fates is, you know, one of those sets which will always perform great. Do keep in mind that the singles have made a big jump, and I think in the future, you know, maybe not 2026, but in the years after that, I think the Mew will jump again, and all those cards will, you know, keep on going up and slowly climb their way up in prices. But right now, it made a big jump for Paldean Fates. You know, like the booster box, not the ETBs, the booster bundles. I was meant to say, you know, everything has made a great jump. So for that to happen again, it needs some time for that, in my opinion. But I think Paldean Fates is still a very good set. I just wouldn't put it on God. I would more likely put it on Demigod. You know, and the ones on the ranking, there's no there's no like specific ranking within the set, if that makes sense. So Demigod, I wouldn't put Paldean Fates above Paldea Evolved or below. You know, it's just then they're just next to each other because I put them that way. All right, Temporal Force is next, in my opinion. It's an okay set. You know, it does have those like legendary Pokemons that people, you know, with the younger generation grew up with, and therefore I think Temporal Forces will do great in the long term. In 2026, I don't see much potential happening. I do want to keep it in the potential category, because I do feel like the years after that, Temporal Forces is a great set. You know, you have the Raging Bolt, the Ghastly Iron Crown, Walking Wake. So it is a pretty full set. You know, there are many chase cards within this set, so therefore I would put Temporal Forces definitely on the potential. I don't want to put a Demigod, because I don't think it's not as great of a set as Paldean Fates and Paldea Evolved. But if you're looking for singles or sealed product, I think Temporal Force is still at a price point where, you know, if it keeps on going down a little bit, it would be very interesting to pick some of that up. Alright, next is Twilight Masquerade. You know, the Greninja set, very Greninja base. Besides that, you do have the Purine and Even and the Carmine. But then, you know, the rest of the set is like, it's okay, you know, all of the Ogerpon mask is not really my thing. Maybe this some of your guys's, but for me it's like, nah. So Twilight Masquerade is also not a set that people really talk about much. You know, it's very Greninja based. So even upcoming, for example, in the Mega Evolution era, if there's a set that, you know, in the Mega era, if there's a Greninja set coming out, then this Greninja will do very great, and the Twilight Masquerade will also go up. In my opinion, I think it's a great set. You know, it's like it's between an okay and potential. I think I would definitely put it more in a potential than okay. I think Twilight Masquerade is still definitely a better set than Paradox Rift, because it does have that Greninja, right? And that's a big chase card for many people, especially also if you also get it in a 10. Next is Shrouded Fable. Shrouded Fable, you know, it made a big jump in 2025 as well. And I keep on saying it because many sets did make a jump. I think Shrouded Fable, you know, I think it's where it is at right now is a very good spot for Shrouded Fable to be. I don't see that much potential in 2025 and 2026, excuse me. Therefore, I am gonna put in an okay set. I think it's on that level with Paradox Rift, and I would definitely not put it in the same category as Temporal and Twilight. You know, you do have those booster bundles which are very affordable. This is more like a set that people want to rip because it is at an affordable price, right? So if the prices keep on going up for the sealed products of Shrouded Fable, I wouldn't see that many people ripping Shrouded Fable purely for the hits. It's right now more of a set like Scarlet and Violet base that people just rip open because it's not that expensive, right? Compared to the other sets within Scarlet and Violet where you pay like price per pack. Stellar Crown has recently got a reprint again, and I think, you know, Stellar Crown was at a very good position for what it is. You know, you have the Squirtle and the Bulbasaur, and you know what other hits, but besides that, it's a very empty set in my opinion. Right now, it's also been printed to oblivion, so I think Stellar Crown it's an okay set. You know, it doesn't have that same potential as Temporal and Twilight. I know Temporal Forces is very, you know, debatable. Some people say it's a very shit set. In my opinion, it does have potential, but it's not like Stellar Crown, where Stellar Crown has just been printed to oblivion. It does have some great cards, but it's not a set that's going to do great, in my opinion, in 2026. Right now we have Surging Sparks. Right now we are experiencing the reprint of this in Europe. So a lot of Surging Spark boost boxes are coming on the market. I think the price are still holding up great for what it is. How much product is coming on the market again. I think this is a great set. You know, it's a very full set. You know, you do have many great chase cards. Of course, it's a Pikachu set. A Pikachu set in the long term has always been performing great. Therefore, I think Surging Sparks is also, you know, I don't know if I would put it in the demigod of potential. I think right now it's a good set to invest into. So right now I will put it in the demigod because Searching Sparks is right now at a price point where it's very affordable compared to what it was a couple months ago. Therefore, I think if you pick up Searching Sparks for like 215, 220, 230 euros, you're definitely not going wrong in the long term. I think in 2026 it's definitely going to make that jump up again, and then I would definitely see Searching Sparks maybe at like 250, 280 maybe. You know, maybe even getting into the low 300s, but we'll have to see. Next in line is of Prismatic Evolutions. I don't think I need to talk that much about this set because of course it's in my opinion the best set combined with 151 of Scarlet and Violet. It has all the evolutions. It's, you know, the Evolving Skies 2.0. I think the set is holding up great, and what do I mean by that is the fact that it's been printed to oblivion. There is so much prismatic product on the market, and I'm not talking about the ETBs, but I'm talking about the booster bundles, I'm talking about the tins, I'm talking about the collection boxes, you know. There's so much prismatic on the market. Prismatic is everywhere to be found, and it's for very affordable prices, especially in the Netherlands, because they were being at some retail stores, you know, where you can find them for very affordable prices. And the fact that there is still a card in this set, which is 900, 800, 1,000 euros plus, whatever you want to call it, right? That shows me that Prismatic in the long term is a very great set to hold on to, and I don't see it going down anytime soon. Therefore, you know, Prismatic without a doubt is a god. You know, anything you find, the collection boxes, the premium figure, the booster bundles, the mini tins, buy everything you can at a great price, because at 2026 combined with 151, these are the two sets that are going to make a very big jump in my opinion. Next we have Journey Together. Journey Together is a debatable set. Many people like this set, some people hate this set. In my opinion, I think it's an okay set, right? It does have some potential. I think it's very cheap for what it is, right? You can see prices sometimes for 180, 190 euros for a booster box. Therefore, if you find it for that price, I think it's a very potential. It has a lot of potential in 2026. I think it's a mid set, but I wouldn't say it's trash. And I think, therefore, you know, the fact that everyone is kind of forgetting about Journey Together, I think it's gonna, you know, flip around at some point, and people are gonna miss out on that, and the Salamence is just gonna jump up, and the Clefairy is gonna jump up again, and cards like Articuno, you know, and Reshiram. Therefore, I think in the long term, Journey Together is a great set, but I wouldn't put it as high as like Demigod. I think it's just like between the okay and the potential. Next are Destined Rivals. Destined Rivals, without a doubt, you know, Team Rocket returns. Anything with Team Rocket in it is a great set. Has made a lot of jumps. It's going to get a reprint in 2026 in the beginning. Therefore, I think I'm going to put it up here. And bear in mind why. Because I think it's going to get a big reprint in 2026. In terms of booster boxes, and I think if these booster boxes fall to like an affordable price, because market right now, let's just round up numbers to be somewhere in the middle, it's like 300, 320 for a booster box. If this were to drop down to 200, 250, I think there's no doubt, no brainer that you should buy this set. It has a great, it has great cards in the set, you know. You have the Mewtwo, the Garchomp, Ho-Oh, Moltres, Nidoking, you know, the Crobat, etc. And you're still looking at cards which are worth like 50 euros plus, right? And all of these cards which are 100 euro plus. The fact that then have a booster box is 300 below, in my opinion, I think for the long term, this is a great set to hold as well. Therefore, I'm going to put it in the God. You know, I wouldn't put it as high as Prismatic and 151, but I think it's definitely up there. It's like, it shouldn't be in the demigod pack, especially with the reprint coming in 2026. Alright, we're gonna have a look at Black Bolt and White Flag together. There's a little bit of a debate between the two, you know. Black Bolt is definitely more of a desirable set than White Flare, but I think both sets is just the same thing. I think this set is very underlooked. In my opinion, I know this is gonna sound crazy, I would put Black Bolt above White Flare, but if you're just purely going off the rankings of the set right here, I would put Black Bolt and White Flare probably on the highest right here. I think it's so affordable for the price of the packs, you know, and of the products that you can get them at right now. You know, there are so many great chase cards. This set is huge. So the amount of illustration rares, the amount of people that want to keep on opening this set because they want to complete their sets. You know how many cards you need to complete your set, you know, and then you have a Black Bolt version and a White Flare. You know, if they want to combine both, they need to rip both of them. In my opinion, this is a set that people are slowly forgetting about, and I understand because after Black Ball and White Flare, we went to Mega, you know, and Mega is very hype. People are saying, whoa, you know, new era, you know, very hype, I need to save some money, and they kind of saved that money for Phantasmal Flames, and Phantasmal Flames ended up being a flop, you know, but they allocated a lot of their money towards these sets, and they kind of forgot about Black Ball and White Flare. Therefore, in my opinion, if you also follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen it in some of my stories, I'm stacking up on these sets. Like, you have no idea, I'm just buying all the collection binders, I'm buying all the booster bundles, I'm buying all the poster collections, you know, anything that I can find with these sets in it for a great price. I don't think about it twice. Like, these sets are so good. You know, you have the chase cards that you need to have in a good set. You have the desirable, people want to open these sets because there's so many chase cards in there, and there's so many, you know, fun and illustration rares that people like to put in a binder. And you know, the price for the sealed product right now is very affordable in my opinion. So this is all in all the end. I kind of wanted to make a 15-minute video, and I'm seeing going a little bit over that, so excuse me for that. But besides that, I think this is a great set, you know, I think this is a great tier list in my opinion. Maybe some things I would move a little bit, but in terms of the god sets, I would keep, you know, Demigod pack. You know, some of these sets, it's debatable where you put them, in which category. Let me know what you guys think about this tier list in the comments. Let me know if you guys have a different opinion on some sets, or if you agree with me in terms of if the sets are in the right category. And I'm curious to see what 2026 brings. Maybe, you know, maybe I'm fully correct, maybe I'm fully wrong, you know. And I think in general I am getting a bit of a right feeling of what sets will perform great, especially in 2026 or the years after that. Maybe I'm not, but let me know in the comments what you guys think, and I'll see you guys next time.